There is a new threat emerging for civilized nations. Europol says the Islamic State is determined to attack Britain and other European countries taking part in the coalition fighting ISIS. A new report also claims the terror group is likely to use the same methods that have worked successfully on the battlefield in Syria and Iraq and on attacks in Belgium and Paris. Those tactics include fighters armed with suicide vests and automatic weapons, all to cause mass casualties. Let's bring in Jonathan Schanzer. He is the Vice President for Research at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, look, this warning from Europol seems to tell us something we kind of already know. Is there something different here?
Well, no. I think the one thing that we've been watching for quite some time is that the Islamic State is losing territory in Syria and Iraq. The walls appear to be closing in on them a little bit. And this is going to force the Islamic State to turn into something that is not a caliphate, right? If it's no longer geographically based, it's going to turn into something that looks more like Al-Qaeda, more diffuse, an organization that has cells that are active around the world. We know that it's active in Europe, and so that it really does stand to reason that they would engage in these sorts of terrorist attacks in Europe where the civilian population will be very vulnerable.
Are we, I guess, as civilized world, learning the tactics of ISIS and are defending them better, even though in a democratic society it's very hard to stop someone from just walking into somewhere and letting off a suicide vest? But are we handling these threats better now than we were, say, even a year ago?
Look, I'm not sure that we can say that we're handling them better. I think that we've been very lucky in some cases. I think our intelligence has been consistently good. But I think we've also learned that if a terrorist organization wants to carry out an attack against civilians with small numbers of people armed with light weapons, it's extremely difficult to stop all of those attacks. And so I think the West will remain vulnerable. I think we'll probably see an uptick as ISIS loses territory. And that's really the concern heading into the next year or two.
Well, what about President-elect Donald Trump? He made law and order a big part of his campaign platform. He talks tough. Does that have any impact on ISIS and how they react to that?
Look, I think it certainly will have an impact on state sponsors of terrorism. I think countries like Iran are probably very nervous. Even Russia may be a little bit more nervous in terms of its expansionism, or at least that may be one way of looking at it. I think in terms of terrorist organizations, groups that are engaged in asymmetric warfare, it's more difficult to deter them. In fact, they may see it as an inducement, an opportunity to attack the West. I think their antipathy remains high. Ideologically, they remain motivated. So I think we have every reason to be concerned looking ahead into the next administration.
Also, very quickly before I let you go, the nomination of retired Marine General James Mattis for Secretary of Defense. He's a tough-talking mad dog is his nickname. What is your response to that?
I think it's great. I think we're establishing deterrence, whereas we've lost it for many years. I think there are a lot of actors out there in the world that were not terribly afraid of the United States because of the leadership that we've had here for the last 8 years. So I think this is really going to be a boost to our defense looking forward.
Very good. Good to hear. Thank you so much for joining us, Jonathan Schanzer. We appreciate it.